this week's movie with Mickey,
Luke, and Eli.
sponsored by Comic Watch.
Comic Watch.
So, you'll notice,
It's
kind of like costumes right now,
yeah.
but it's really pajamas. But we're going with a Halloween theme because it's October.
Of course.
So, naturally, we're going to do a scary movie today. These guys, maybe a little young for some scary movies, but we jump right into them anyway because he loves scary movies and his brother braves them so he can be with his brother. So sometimes we do watch some actual scary movies, not just Goosebumps and Beetlejuice level, right?
Like Conjuring.
Like the Conjuring, whole Conjuring universe,
and
right?
the movie we're going to do.
So the movie today,
yeah. Is
this
the
week's
scary
movie
movies.
is going to be a scary movie. One of those actual pretty darn scary movies. It Chapter 2.
Dun dun.
There will be spoilers.
Yes.
So the main villain of the It
Pennywise.
movies is Pennywise, right? It's Stephen King's novel, I think written in 1986, is all about the demonic, evil, apparently alien clown.
Yeah.
They made it into a TV miniseries in 1990, and that's how we got into the It world in the first place. We watched that one, or me and him did, initially to kind of ease him into how scary it was going to be. This one was a little too scared. Eli was a little too scared of the miniseries, so he jumped right into the real thing, weirdly.
I was out of the room and then I came in and I just watched it.
Just decided to pick up where you started, right?
The end of the
That was about the second half of part one,
Yeah.
give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then made it through part two. Luckily, part two's still got enough humor that we got through it, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it had more humor than the first one. Did it? Yeah.
Then the miniseries?
No.
I don't know. The miniseries might not have humor, but it had cheese.
I mean the first
it was-
one.
Not low budget, but it was TV budget.
I mean the first movie.
Yeah, I think part one was scarier than chapter two, personally.
It was.
I
guess.
So Pennywise, demonic clown, but
From
y'all
space.
said there was more about him being from space, and maybe I had a bathroom break or something on that part.
You probably
'cause
passed
I
that.
don't remember it.
Evil demon from outer space.
Basically, he came down as a meteor, crashed into a mountain or something, and everybody from back then saw him as a bird.
Bird.
He came out as a bird and then looked like a skinny looking Trigon.
Trigon from Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did.
Way to keep it on the comic side, right? All right.
And then he kind of formed into a clown to like.
In the old carnival, because he fit into that old carnival that he was in. What was what were the dead eye things, the dangly things?
Oh, that's what made people float.
We all flew down.
Yeah, they never really too much explained that.
I
It
guess
just
it-
came down with him.
Part of the alienness.
Yeah, it just came down with him.
All right. So the cast, you know, horror movies aren't usually known for the pedigree of their cast, but these guys, we had some big names. James McAvoy from the X-Men movies and from the Split movies. Jessica Chastain, I'm pretty sure, is an Oscar winner. Bill Hader from Saturday Night Live. Isaiah Mustafa. And that guy. I'm not sure who that guy is. There's no offense to that guy. He did a good job, but he was supposed to be Chris Pratt. And Chris Pratt couldn't do it or didn't want to do it. Probably didn't fit into his schedule because with all the Marvel movies he's been doing. So this guy came in, did a good job. I'm just not familiar with him or who he is. The movie also stars Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, who my wife just calls not Alex. Calls Alexander Skarsgård. He's pretty. And I don't know if Bill is or not, but not while he's a clown. Right? Yeah. So Mike is the only member of the Losers Club that stayed in Derry as he grew older, and therefore is the only one that remembers anything from part one. The rest of them oddly don't remember a single thing.
It's like when they left the town. Pennywise, while he was underground, maybe he did something.
Planning.
You think he caused it?
I think he caused
It's weird
this.
though.
Yeah.
It's weird because none of them remember a single thing. All they remember is that they promise to come back if ever needed. Mike finds out that Pennywise has resurfaced, so he calls them all, and almost all of them return to Derry, at which point their memories of part 1 return, right? Everybody but Stanley. Right?
Yeah.
We'll talk about Stanley in a minute. The cool thing is, the last time they were in town, they were kids. They were the Losers Club, right?
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing is, this movie, even though it focuses on them as adults, does show the kids from time to time. And
Yes.
who's y'all's favorite of the kids? Is it him? Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things? Of course. Alright, so when they get back in town, they decide to start going after Pennywise. And in order to do so, they have to separate, which is always a horrible idea in horror movies, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Scooby-Doo taught us that, didn't
They all seem to survive, though. Until, like, the end.
he? But they all have to separate to go find their personal, like, talisman to fight against Pennywise. And of course, as they're separated, Pennywise starts messing with each of them, scaring, attacking each of them, right?
Yeah.
Bill Hader has to fight a demonic Paul Bunyan statue.
Well, yeah, but that's in his mind. It's actually Pennywise messing with his mind, so it's not really demonic. It's
Not
just-
really. So, do y'all remember what the other guy, the not Chris Pratt guy, what did he have to fight? Does anybody remember?
He had to fight Redhead, didn't he?
The girl?
Oh yeah,
No.
he did.
He had to fight her?
Well,
He
he
had
also
to hide.
he didn't have to do anything. He just had to go there and find something from his past. They all had to find something
So
from
he didn't
their
get
past.
toyed with. Like what she went to get was her love letter from him when she was little, right?
Yeah, they all
But
had
listen,
to get.
he had to run from the Redhead, but like back in time, and Pennywise messing with him.
Okay. And Mike,
From Stranger Things, it's not.
no, not Mike from Stranger Things, Mike from this movie,
Oh.
Isaiah Mustafa,
Oh.
Pennywise didn't really mess with him much either, except for he just changed. He was like the town historian, and Pennywise changed the newspaper articles of his family and how they had died, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a Back to the Future moment where the newspaper
Changes.
title was changing, right? So the ones that really got the most vivid interaction attacks by Pennywise was Bill Hader. Jessica Chastain had to contend with this weird old lady
Yeah.
that oddly stripped down and crawled ceilings.
She was the daughter of Pennywise.
Daughter of Pennywise, yep.
That's what. Yeah, that's what.
That was creepy,
Yeah,
right?
it was
And
odd.
James McAvoy had to re-encounter his brother that died in part 1 in his basement, and
Trying to save him, and also trying to save this
right,
little kid.
and then in not being able to save his brother, he kind of put his attentions on this new kid in the neighborhood and tried to save him.
And
It
that
didn't work
go
out so well, did it?
Oh, Pennywise had a great dinner.
Dinner, yeah. So speaking of,
Did we forget about the asthma dude? He had to save his. He had to. He
Oh!
got barfed on by a zombie.
well, I couldn't find a picture of that, but yeah, the asthma guy. I forgot about him because he wasn't in that image.
He got barfed on
He
by
got-
a zombie.
Barfed on by a weird zombie trying to save his mom.
Trying to save his mom was in his mind from the past, but he saw the zombie.
It was sometimes a little trippy and hard to understand what was really happening versus what was happening in their
I
minds.
knew what was happening.
Right?
Yeah, kind
So, what about scariest part? So, what was y'all's scariest moment?
of. I don't know. I didn't really get scared. Every time he ate.
Didn't really get
somebody-
scared.
Every time he ate at somebody.
So, that's what I was gonna say. The old lady was freaky,
Yeah.
especially when she started climbing ceilings.
It wasn't that scary though.
Pennywise is creepy,
He's creepy.
but when he got the little boy in that maze of mirrors, the little boy we just saw, that was kind of rough. But honestly, I think the scariest scene was the little girl that had
Yeah.
was no connection to any of the other storyline, but it was under the bleachers at the school. He kind of lured her in, and then
With a firefly.
with a firefly, and then he chomped on her. I think that was the scariest moment.
He said 1, 2.
I mean,
Wait a few minutes, and she said you're supposed to say 3.
Chomp.
yeah, that made me jump, but it didn't.
If she didn't
There were
say,
some good jump scares.
if she didn't say
That was
3,
a jump scare.
But Pennywise is kind of like Freddy in a way that
he messes with.
by the
her.
time he's going to actually scare you, he does something funny that kind of takes you out of the scare a little bit. I think. Is that why you think it wasn't scary?
Where he was like this in the mirror. Kept banging his head on the glass.
He was like,
All right. So, what about the final battle?
oh.
Oh,
You know what? My scariest moment was probably when he popped up as a spider.
When he popped up as a spider?
he doesn't like spiders.
Who does? But so, what did y'all think of the final battle? You know, it started with her and the not Chris Pratt guy being like just covered in blood and stuff. But
Yeah, a whole bunch of things happened. The evil demon Pomeranian.
yeah,
Oh,
ooh, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
hilarious.
We didn't even know what was in the scary door though.
No, thank goodness. There were 3 doors. It was like, let's make a deal. You had to choose this door, this door, this door.
There's 3 doors. Not scary, scary, totally scary. Totally scary, it was like a ghost. I don't remember what it was. Then they went to not scary.
And
It was a
like a
Pomeranian.
demonic little yippy Pomeranian.
They stopped Pennywise for a moment, and then they turned around and they're like, maybe the Pomeranian isn't bad. They're like, oh, good baby, good baby. And then the Pomeranian turned into a big monster.
And tried to eat them.
Yeah.
I think the scary door was actually the one that they ended up on.
They didn't go through it. They didn't go through any door.
So how did the big final battle end?
Of course,
one
killing
died,
Pennywise.
And
One of them
instead
big
of
guys.
Asthma.
so they had to get him back to his original form as a small, normal
They
person.
had basically
And
they bullied him.
and they couldn't do that. That's probably why people.
They mocked him and bullied him
That's
until he
why-
wasn't confident, and he shrank back down to normal size where they could defeat him.
That's
How
why
to defeat a
people thought
monster?
That's
Bully
why.
him.
Yeah, that's probably why people thought this one fell apart. Because they said instead of making him small, gonna make him feel small.
So they said they weren't scared of him. They said
You're
he was
just a
not
clown.
yeah
Stupid clown.
stupid clown, and he shrank down to a baby clown, right?
And
And then they ripped out his heart and squeezed it.
you know, I think
That's
he'd
fine,
just be okay as a little clown walking around and say, "Hello, how you doing?"
He'd have
He'd grow back eventually.
Probably. They just do the same thing again.
So,
Be good this time.
but did y'all like the end? Did y'all like?
Yeah.
And it was kind of sad because
The asthma.
the asthma guy died, and Bill Hader's character was quite upset about that. That was very emotional, right?
Can we talk about Stanley real quick?
So actually, that's the next card. The differences from the book to the movie, which y'all don't know, but one of those. Well, let's talk about Mike first. Not Mike from Stranger Things, Mike from this movie. He was one of the big differences. Do you remember the bully from part 1?
Yes.
He showed up in part 2 again. He escaped from a mental hospital and tracked him down and tried to kill everybody, and they had to defeat him, right? Well, in the book, he really hurt Mike, and the second half of the book, Mike stayed in the hospital and didn't get to go on the final battle. Whereas in this, Mike, the town historian, was also the one who had researched how to defeat Pennywise and was basically their leader into battle, more or less, right?
Basically, the person that actually got really hurt, and it was in this movie, was the asthma dude.
Asthma guy got hurt, right? But he still got to
Stabbed
go.
in the
He
cheek,
still got to go to the
right?
final battle.
And there was the Thing reference too.
There was something that I feel was a reference to
It was.
John Carpenter's The Thing. I mean, I don't know how many movies you can have a head pop loose and sprout spider legs and go running out of a room, and somebody in the movie says, "You got to be blanking kidding me," without it being a reference. So, The Thing, 1982, John Carpenter's The Thing. Guy's head pops off, spider legs pop out of it, and it crawls away. And right before it gets completely away, somebody says, "You got to be blanking kidding me." Same thing with Stanley's head. Spider legs pop out of it, it crawls away, and somebody says that exact same line. So I feel like that was definitely a reference to John Carpenter's The Thing in 1982, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But no, so difference between the book and the movie, Mike was present in the final battle, and being that he had done all the research on, it was like Native American lore and stuff on how to defeat him, he was critical in the final battle, right?
Yeah.
Even though he kind of kept some of it to himself and didn't reveal elements until the end, it kind of made him mad at him a little bit, but he did what he needed to do, right? Another big difference was Stan. So Stan does not come back to Derry in the book, in the miniseries, in this movie. When he gets the call to return to Derry, all the memories of Pennywise flood back to him immediately instead of when he comes back to town, and it's too much for him. He had always been kind of queasy and scared all the time, and so when that came back to him, it was too much for him. In the book, he just committed suicide. The end.
In the movie.
They gave him a better reason in the movie for what he had done. In a letter that they read at the end, he knew that Pennywise fed off of fear, and that if he came back, he would be more of, I guess, a help to Pennywise than he would be a help to these guys, because he was so afraid. So he took himself out of the game instead, by doing the suicide, right? So same end result, but they gave him a little bit more of a reason for what he had done, right?
Yeah.
So this may be more of a question for him than you. Oh, there's the book cover. But here's Pennywise from the 1990 miniseries, Tim Curry. So here's the question: who's the better Pennywise?
Oh, the new one, probably.
You say the new one. You didn't watch this guy.
Yeah.
Who do you say? No wrong answer.
It might be this one.
So I think Bill Skarsgård was scarier, but he's creepier. I don't know if that makes sense, but
He looks creepier? Or...
well, he acted creepier. Bill Skarsgård was
He's kind of silly, actually.
sometimes he was silly. He was silly too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just the performance was different. Skarsgård came off as a straight up horror. This guy was
just like
witty.
creepy.
I don't know. Skarsgård didn't really say, he said stuff very scary. We all float down here. This guy was
We all flew down here.
funnier. Not funnier how he said it. It was just funnier the things that he said. But it was still creepy. It was still stuck with you. Actually, I think this guy is probably a reason there's a whole generation of people scared of clowns.
Yeah.
I don't know if people used to be scared of clowns back in the 50s and 60s, but ever since this guy came out, there's a whole bunch of people scared of clowns.
Oh, yeah.
It's all right. So, all in all, what did you guys think of It Chapter 2?
Still scared,
I liked
but yeah, it was good.
It was good? Good. All right.
I gotta watch that one again, though.
Gotta watch this one again
I'll
So
watch
we
it.
can
They
do
got the
some-
eyes pretty spot on.
so we can do some comparisons.
They got the eyes pretty spot on, both of them.
They did. They did. So, that's this week's movie, guys. Thanks for watching.